Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video in Raid Shadow Legends. I'm a bit late on this video, unfortunately, so please forgive me. I got a bit busy yesterday and I wasn't able to actually make the video about it. But the new Fusion champion, Maulie Tankard, is finally here. Not finally, but is here now, and we got a lot to go over for the events and tournaments related to her Fusion and whether or not she is even a good enough champion to worry about. So first we'll go over the fact that she's a dwarf legendary spirit champion, and so just there, I mean, there's only now with her there's 3 legendary champions in the dwarf faction. So in my mind, if you can't pull one of the other 2, it's good to have at least 1 legendary in the dwarf faction for faction wars. But now we'll go over her skills. She attacks 1 enemy, and the damage is increased by 50% if the target is under HP burn. Now this isn't like a 50% attack bonus, or in her case, the damage is based on defense, but it's actually all the damage meant from this attack will then be increased by 50%. So it's actually a little bit better than, say, if it was based on attack and she had an attack bonus on it. But that's only if she's she's attacking a target with HP burn on it. So we'll see as we go through her other skills, she doesn't actually have an HP burn skill. So this will require another champion with HP burn to be on the same team, or otherwise this attack just attacks 1 enemy and does nothing else. Damage based on defense, which is kind of nice. Actually, we'll get a better sense of what her defense is, because right now these numbers here are for level 1 5-star Maulie Tankard, and when we're done going through this, I'll go into the index and we'll look at her main stats if you max her out. Second skill places a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn and has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the target for 2 turns instead. Places a 30% reflect damage buff on this champion for 2 turns. Now, the way I read this is that it's not actually a damage dealing skill, and she does an AoE provoke for 1 turn. But you know, when you choose to attack or use a skill on an enemy, you have to click on one of the enemies, and that's technically your target. So because it doesn't say placing a provoke debuff on all enemies, excuse me, she has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 2 turns on the target, which I believe means that there'll be 4 enemies, say like arena or something like that, and on 3 of those enemies you'll get a 1 turn for 100% chance at a 1 turn provoke, and then a 50% chance for a 2 turn on the enemy that you click. If the 50% chance doesn't work, then it'll be a 1 turn like everybody else, but that 2 turn will not affect all enemies. That's at least the way I read it, and I'm sure once we start getting a better feel for what she's like when people get her, we can confirm that. And then her third skill, revives an ally with 50% HP and fills the turn meter by 50%, and places a block damage buff on that ally for 1 turn. I think this is a really good way to revive an ally, because it always sucks whenever they have a 0% turn meter and they got to go all the way to 100%. And if you don't have block damage on it, then they usually just get killed again. But giving them some turn meter and block damage is really nice. I mean, it stinks that it's only for a single ally, but it may have been overpowered if it was like an AoE revive, and let's face it, not a lot of champions have an AoE revive to begin with. And she has a 4th. This is a passive that unlocks at Ascension level 3, and it fills the turn meters of all allies by 15% when the champion is hit, and fills the turn meters of all allies by 25% when this champion is hit by a boss. You can get the cooldown to a single turn, meaning that if she got hit multiple turns, it would only take effect 1 time each time she got hit until she takes a turn, and then it will refresh. But either way, this is very beneficial for just, I mean, turn meter buffs are always nice, assuming that you survive the enemy hit. But in my mind, this could be very powerful if used correctly. And now, just so we can get an idea of how good her actual stats are, we can go here. Level 60, 6-star ascended. She has almost 1500 defense and a pretty high HP at 18,000 and a speed of 107. So some pretty decent stats there, especially because, well, actually, you can see it here. Damage based on defense. Well, these two skills don't say damage based on anything, so you know that they don't actually do damage. Her only damage dealing skill is based on defense, which is nice for multiple reasons. Everybody knows that damage based on defense is nice because it double dips in the pool of survivability as well as damage, and she's got a pretty good damage dealing or defense stat for obviously survivability and damage for her. So now that we've gone through her stats, I think she's a pretty good champion to go for, assuming you have the resources and time to put into the fusion for this limited time fusion event. And we'll go through, first of all, the this news event here, and it gives us I can't think of what this is, a schedule of events and tournaments that will be coming for the next 2 or so weeks. It says here, to fuse Maulie Tankard, you will need to get the following 4 champions: Basher, Captain Tamila, Catacomb Counselor, and Mistress of Hymns. And here is where you will find how to do that. Basher can be fused from these 4 champions. Marquess, which we'll get into some of the fact that a lot of these champions are actually available before Maulie arrived as a fusion champion. So if you would have saved up, you could have had a pretty good jump start on this. Anyways, Marquess is available from an Arena Assault event that will be happening in a few days here. Witness will be available from a Dungeon Divers event, October 1st through 5th. Hill Nomad and Ragemonger will be available from Artifact Enhancement event happening September 29th through October 3rd, so after the Arena Assault event. Mistress of Hymns is actually available straight from the Champion Chase tournament that is currently going on if you decide to go through with actually summoning champions for the tournament rather than saving them for an event. Or she can be fused from these 4 champions. Pounder is available from a Dragon tournament, Tormentor, a Spider tournament, Flesh Eater available from an Ice Golem tournament, and Adjudicator from a Fire Knight tournament. And these will be pretty much back-to-back tournaments. Right now this is the Champion Chase, then Dragon, Spider, Ice Golem, Fire Knight. All back-to-back-to-back. The bad part about this in general is that there is a big champion training tournament going on, and if you're spending energy between dungeon farming and campaign farming, it's going to be hard to balance these, which is why it would be nice to have had these champions beforehand, which I'll show you. All of these champions were actually available beforehand, so hopefully you guys were lucky enough and don't have to worry about those champions. Captain Tamila is available from the Champion Chase tournament, which is not the current Champion Chase tournament. As you can see here, Mistress of Hymns is available from the tournament that's going on from the 20th through the 23rd, which is what we're currently going through, but there will be another Champion Chase tournament where you can get Captain Tamila, which we can kind of guess will probably be for a similar point amount. If you have enough shards for it, and you don't want to go through all these other ways of getting these epic champions, then that's a possibility, but it's, in my mind, the Champion Chase tournaments are never worth actually pursuing. It's better to save them for the events for the reward difference. Anyways, the Captain Tamila can also be fused by these 4 champions. Slitherbrute, which was available before. All of these are available in the Champion Training event that's currently going on. Slither Brute, Beast Wrestler, Master Butcher, and Painsmith. And the last champion required for the Maulie Tankard Fusion is the Catacomb Counselor, which is only available from the champion training tournament that is currently going on. And final group creation September 24th. Oh, that's right. Every time, like if you didn't log in yesterday or even today, your tournament will start the moment you log in for the first time after this became available. So the final group will be created on September 24th. So you'll have, I believe, 2 weeks after you first log in that's when your training tournament will start. And so the last group will be created on September 24th. We'll go greater in detail about this champion training tournament, but this kind of gives a little overview of it. But it'll be, oops, I hit a settings button on accident. If I grab, do I have enough space? Yes, I do. All right, let's see, 40, 40, 40. These are all of my champions that I've already gotten up for this fusion. And as you see here, all the red dots I have here, if you don't include this guy, because I just took him as a reward from the champion training event, you can see the red dots of the champions that I had prior to this fusion even coming out, because I saved the champions as I got them. And yesterday and today I was leveling them up, and so you can see I'm already quite a ways into the fusion process for the various epics. This guy is just one I haven't touched yet, but I had him to begin with. This guy, as you can see, I haven't fully leveled him up yet. I've just been doing I leveled up like 2 batches of 3 hero or champions. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Which is why I kind of gave this guy some bruise, which is why he's at 21, and I just haven't touched this guy yet. Which explains why I have some various levels on him. And then other than that, I've been doing a bunch of fodder and stuff, training. But I just got this guy from a reward. This guy comes from a reward from the champion training event, and so does this guy. And I believe, let's see, all 3 of these guys were available. Obviously, all 4 of these were available. These 3 were available, and this guy was the only new rare champion, I believe, Ragemonger. Let's just make sure that the Painsmith was also not new. And the dwarves, he's right there, Painsmith. No, he was new as well, it appears, because there's only 2 reviews. So I believe Painsmith was new, as well as, if you go to Barbarians, Ragemonger is new as well, 0 reviews. And so you get Painsmith as a final reward from the training event that's currently going on, as the final champion reward, that is. And you get Ragemonger from an artifact enhancement event that will be coming up. And I guess while we're on the subject, we'll talk about this a little bit right now as kind of a warning, hopefully, because this is all speculation. But Hill Nomad and Ragemonger are rewards from the same artifact enhancement event, 29th through October 3rd, meaning that one of these champions will be a lesser reward and one of them will be a further along reward, most likely because Ragemonger is a void champion. He will be the later reward. And if you remember from the Fully Fusion event, Centurion was also a rare void champion that was our last champion that we were waiting for, and ended up being a very hard to get champion based on the points that were needed to get him. A lot of people are speculating that Ragemonger will be a similar difficulty of getting, and it makes sense that because there are 2 champions from the same event, that at least one of them are going to be much harder. Hopefully people have been saving up some silver and will continue saving up during these events until the 29th to be able to complete this artifact enhancement event with no problem. But we will wait and see when that event actually comes around. But one thing I forgot to mention that is nice about the Maulie Tankard Fusion that is not like the Fully Fusion event, is that the Fully Fusion event had 2 champions that were purely RNG based. You had to go into Fire Knight's dungeon or the Spider dungeon and just farm them until you finally got them. Maulie Tankard does not have any champions that are purely RNG based. They are all either tournament or event rewards, and obviously you can pull them from shards, and the majority of them are even champions that were available before the fusion became live. Let's see here. There's 4 times 4. This group of 4, this group of 4, this group of 4, this group of 4. There's 16 champions, and 4 of them are new. So 3/4 of the champions for this fusion were actually available, and if you got lucky enough to pull them beforehand, you would have had a head start. As you can see here, I had the majority of the rare champions, and I had a nice head start, and I already have most of them able to be fused up. The other new champions are this Catacomb Counselor guy in the Undead Hordes, as well as the Captain Tamila from the Dark Elves. So I know I've seen plenty of people that had the Mistress of Hymns from before, and I believe even Basher. Let's just confirm. I believe I did this earlier. Basher from Skinwalkers. Index, Skinwalker, Basher. See, he's got 79 reviews, so he was definitely been here for at least a little while. And so if you got lucky enough beforehand, you would have had these champions and could be much further along in this process of fusing Maulie Tankard, which I think is at least mostly pretty nice. I mean, the fact that we had a lot of champions, obviously there's some new ones, but I don't think they are required to give us all champions that we could have possibly had before the fusion event, make them all part of the fusion. So I think it was pretty nice to have a good majority of them be champions that were here before the event. All right, talking a big mouthful. Before we get into the actual tournament and events that are currently going on that started yesterday, I'll quickly go over, in my past video, the Champion Fusion event prep video that I made. I gave you some numbers on potions that you would need to finish all the ascensions required, and those were kind of generic numbers because I kind of assumed that there would be 4 champions needing to be fused from 4 epics, but there's only 3 champions that are fused from previous rares. I'm sorry, not epics. And so that reduces some of the potions needed, and now we have all of the various affinities known, so we can nail down the exact numbers of potions that are required, and I have them right here. All right, I'm going to look over at this screen, but just so I can comment on it. We need a total of 20 lesser potions of the Avoid affinity, 28 greater, 6 superior. On the Force affinity, we need 10 lesser, 4 greater, and 0 superior. Magic affinity is the most colored that we need, and that's 60 lesser, 64 greater, and 12 superior. And the Spirit affinity, we need 30 lesser, 32 greater, 6 superior. And of course we need Arcane for all of those ascensions. We need 60 lesser, 96 greater, and 12 superior. And as you can see, whether you noticed before or not, I've already done some of my ascensions for the champions that I have. You can see that here. See, I already have them at 4-star ascended for the champions with red dots, except with the exception of this guy because I just got him. But the biggest requirements come from the epics, obviously, because you got to get them to 5-star, and in general, epics cost more or higher level materials than rare champions do. So, with all that said, let's go over the current events that are going on, which actually just one event, and that is the champion training event. Yesterday it said 1 week and 5 days is the amount of time that we have, and that will end on 10-3. And to get the final reward, you need 30,000 points, which is the highest point level that we've ever had, but also the longest event that we've ever had. So they kind of coincide. It does suck that it is so long, just because, I mean, you're going to need to buy double XP if you really do expect to be working at one of every single one of these days. You're going to have to buy quite a bit of those double XPs with your gems. But if you can somehow get more points per day than the minimum just to complete the event, then you'll have to buy less double XPs if you can complete it quicker. One thing that I think was a big injustice is the fact that we only have 2 rows of rewards for a 30,000 event. I mean, for Foley, we had 20,000 and we had 3 rows. And I believe the other 20,000 events, I didn't actually look, the other 20,000 point champion training events also had 3 rows of rewards. And now we get a little bit more points and we actually reduce the amount of rewards we get. That really sucks in my opinion. But if we put that aside, I do like the fact that we get some legendary speed artifacts. Obviously there's the champions that we need. Silver is kind of, or really just a waste of space, but they are some pretty big silver rewards. And if you put aside the fact that we're doing a 30,000 point event, and that's the highest we've ever done, you really only need that for luxury, because in order to get Painsmith, the new champion needed for one of the epic fusions, in order to get him, you need just over 20,000 points, which we have proven time and time again that we can do a champion training event for 20,000 points and pass it as free to play. So this fusion, the champion training event, is possible to get done for the required rewards for this fusion. And the 30,000 is just if you want to get a legendary skill tome for 25,000 points, which is actually the highest or the most expensive legendary skill tome we've done yet. And the first time we've gotten a sacred shard in an event is 30,000 points, which honestly, just the mere fact that there is a sacred shard at 30,000 points, I'm okay with. If you would have said that, I don't know, if the Painsmith would have been 30,000 points, I would have been very upset about that. But you don't have to get to 30,000 points. That's only if you want to get a sacred shard, which obviously everyone loves a sacred shard. But if you just can't muster up the resources in order to do so, you don't have to get all the way to 30,000 points. And from what I've seen, there does not appear to be a daily cap to the points earned. There's obviously nothing here saying a cap, and someone said that they got over 5,000 points in the first day, which is in the past been the cap of 5,000 points. So it appears that there's no secret cap either, which is nice, because everybody always hated those caps and it didn't really make sense. So that's it for the champion training event. I like the sacred shard for 30,000 points. I don't like the lack of rewards in general along the progression. I wish we would have had 4 rows for 30,000 points, but we only get 2 rows of rewards. Really sucks, in my opinion. But now we'll go on to the tournaments that are currently going on. We'll go with the Champion Chase tournament first because it's a little bit easier to just go over, and then the Champion Training tournament we'll look at last. Champion Chase tournament. We've had plenty of these, so you should know how these go, hopefully. The point system is right here. If you happen to get a champion in pretty much any way possible, including rewards from events, then you'll get 1 point for a common, 1 point for an uncommon, 10 for rare, 250 for epic, and 500 for a legendary. And it's different for Void champions because those only come from Void shards. So you get 50 for rare, 350 for an epic, and 650 for a legendary. I still don't know exactly how I feel about this point system, because it's really nice that you can get the Mistress of Hymns in this event, and it's not like a tournament top reward. It's actually one of these guaranteed rewards as long as you reach the point cap that you need. But you need 1,500 points, and the points are basically RNG. I mean, if you're using all of your say you use 20 ancient shards, you're only guaranteed 200 points. Or maybe you can get legendary upon legendary upon legendary, get 3 legendaries back to back, and you get it with 3 shards. And so the fact that it's RNG based, this point system, I don't really like it. The event point system is based on the shards that you use, not the rarity of the champions that you get from those shards. And that's why I like that better. It's a lot more, you know what you're getting out of it, I guess. But if, like I said before, the Mistress of Hymns, including another champion, is available from these champion chase tournaments. And if you happen to have 1,500, mystery shards, the green ones, then by all means, get the Mistress of Hymns from her. That way you don't have to go do these tournaments to get Pounder, Tormentor, Flesh Eater, and Educator. So you're not wasting time in dungeons when you could be doing the champion training event. But if you don't have the mystery shards to do it, in my opinion, it's still not worth it, the champion chase tournament. It's just RNG based. None of these other rewards are really all that great. You really only want her for the fusion, I guess. And obviously, if you're not going for this fusion, then there's really no reason to do this tournament. And on to the champion training tournament, which, because I'm a day late, you may, hopefully you already know this little fact that has everyone up in arms. But you can get points from leveling up your champions, upgrading your champions, and ascending your champions. This is the first time we get points based on ascension. It's really not that many points, so I'm not even really going to talk about it all that much. But the leveling up your champions, you can only get from leveling up within the Tavern, which is level up your champions at the Tavern by using XP brews or sacrificing other champions, meaning that these level upgrade points that are the exact same points from the champion training event. The tournament does not give you points based on champions leveled up in campaign, only if you do it in the Tavern, which is really why this is harder to get points in the tournament rather than the event. The upgrades are obviously already in the Tavern, so they give very similar points to the event. I'd have to confirm, but I believe the only difference is this 5-star to 6-star is 300 in the event. It's 400 in the tournament, and we'll look at it real fast. So 5, 15, 50, 100, 300. So yeah, the only difference between the event and the tournament is the tournament gives 6-star upgrades for 400 points, and the event gives it for 300 points. But the main reason you want to be participating in the tournament, if you are going for the fusion, of course, is so that you can get this champion right here, which is only available from this champion training tournament. You get some pretty decent rewards along the way, like a relentless set, and some speed gear, which take it or leave it, some shield gear, which is nice, some gems, some energy, not a whole lot of energy, but energy nonetheless. And this champion, which you need for the tournament and cannot get any other way, he's a new champion unless you decide to pull some shards and get very lucky and get him. Obviously, people in this, if they're going for the tournament, or if they're going for the fusion, then these numbers will be going up throughout the entire tournament. Right now I'm sitting at 2 with number 1 slightly above me and number 3 slightly below me. But you get, I mean, legendary skill tome, epic skill tome, 2 void shards, 1 void shard, 2 ancient shards, and then various gems, if you happen to be in the top rankings at the end of this very long 2-week long tournament. And now we'll go through some differences between shifts in your mind that you should make if you want to try to make this Maulie Tankard Fusion, so that you can get this champion to the best of your ability, I guess. I haven't done any major calculations yet, but obviously you need to be doing a bunch of Tavern leveling up in order to get them. And you can see right here, I got a bunch of 3 stars at level 10. And that's because the way I do it is I go and level up 2 stars in, campaign. And if you do a bunch of 12-6 runs, you'll eventually get them to 19 and a little bit extra XP needed, but not enough to do a full run and get like all the experience that you would receive. So I level them up to 19 and do 2 1 stars, and I'll level them up to 20. Gives me a tournament point, which is nice, but not really necessary because it's only a single point. But if you're going to follow suit and do that as well, a better way to do it is to, because you know you'll be doing it that way, is to use your 2 champions at level 1, and then you'll get 2 level ups from it, and you'll get 2 points. Like I said, not a big deal, just something to think about if you're going that route. Now, I said I got these 3 stars at level 10. Once you get your 2-star champions here, and you rank them up, I don't have anyone with I don't have anyone with the 1 run on them yet, so I'm not going to actually do the rank up. But once you rank up a 2-star to a 3-star, then I would take a 3-star and I would give them 1 brew. That gives them 10 levels, gives you 18 tournament points. Pretty nice, not a whole lot, but it's there. And then you'll see right here I have this 4-star. So if I take my 3-star and I give it 3 foods that I already have levels on, upgrade it. Now I got points for the upgrade, for tournament points for the upgrade. And then I take this champion, which will be food, and I give it 3 brews for a 4-star. Gives you level 18 and 51 more tournament points. That's what I have found to be pretty effective, and I'm obviously slowly running out of brews, and you got to be kind of smart so you don't just run. Like right here I have a lot of force brews already used, and that's probably because I did a lot of these guys. But if I do a lot of the Diablos, then I'll start running out of blue brews, and so I'll need to find some green champions to level up to 3 stars and then 4 stars and give them some brews. And right here you can see I have tons of voids, and that's because we don't get a lot of void champions. So something smart that you might do is just scroll all the way down to your voids. I have 143. Maybe you, even though it's not matching affinity, maybe you give them a brew or 2 to give them some levels. I mean, are we really going to use 143 brews on just void champions? I mean, say you get a void legendary champion eventually. Sure, you can use your brews on them, but you can just level them up just like any other champion, and you don't necessarily have to save your void brews for it, especially if we're really counting on needing points for this tournament. So I haven't figured out quite yet what I would do for an off affinity brew, but maybe 1 or 2 just to get to that level 12, or maybe you just stick with level 8. But that obviously just doing 1 brew will give you more bang for your buck points wise, just because I can do 143 champions with a single brew, whereas this gives you about half the points doing a second brew. But am I going to use 143 3-star champions? I'm not sure. So that's where I was saying I haven't done all the math behind it yet. But that's something to take into account, is use these off affinity brews just because are you really going to use them anywhere else? And we really need to be focusing more on leveling up champions in the tavern for that tournament rewards. Let's see. Is there anything? Oh, once again, I got some energy to use. Let's go to campaign. No, not stage 1. Let's go to stage 12. 12.6. Obviously have double XP brew or double XP active. If you don't have it active, you will not be finishing. That is a big deal. Yeah, why not? Let's take in these guys. I'll level these guys up one time, and that's due to, where is it? This right here. This is what you kind of want to do for maxing out your points that you need for the champion training event. The event itself, you want to be leveling up your food champions. 2-star champions, you do 1 12-3 or 12-6 run, and that'll give them to level 7. 3-star champions, you want to do 3 12-3 or 12-6 runs. 12-6 gives slightly more experience and is really only necessary when you start getting into the higher rank champions, because you're going to level them up higher. And I think if you do 12-3, you'll get to 25. You'll do 13 runs, plus you'll need 1 1-star champion. But if you do 12-6, you just do 13 runs and you're there. You don't need the 1-star food champion. So that's really the break-even point is when you're doing 5-star champions or 6-star champions. The same applies. 23 12-3 runs plus 2 1-star champions, or 23 12-6 runs and you're there. That's really the only difference. Now back to here. 3-star champs, level them up to 12, which is 3 runs. Campaign runs, or you can give them a single brew, gets them to level 10, which is pretty close, and you don't really want to waste any more brews on the 3-star champions. 4-star champions, you want to level them up to around 19, which is 7 campaign runs. You can get them, I believe the level is 18 if you give them 3 brews. 5-star food champions, you want to get them to 25 for the max value, which we already mentioned before is 13 runs plus 1 1-star champion. If you're doing 12-3 or 13 runs of 12-6 and you're there. And I don't know the brew numbers off the top of my head because I haven't actually been doing any leveling up of 5-star or 6-star champions so far in this event. And 6-star champions, you want to get to level 31 and then just stop. Wait till the event's done to level them any further if you happen to get them, which is 23 runs of 12-3 plus 2 champions of 1-star rarity, or just 23 12-6 runs and you're there. And I'm just doing some leveling up in the background just to show you how I do my food farming. So hopefully I haven't missed anything on this very long and comprehensive, hopefully, video of the fusion event that's going on, all the actual events and tournaments that are going on currently. We'll go through the new events and tournaments as they come out, whether or not it's worth it to continue. I gave you the warning on the artifact enhancement event. I really hope they make that event easy to complete. If it's any higher point requirement than 6,000 like the past 2 events have been, then they just are really trying to screw us over, because that's hard enough as it is, and if we have to go higher than that, then it's just going to be impossible and going to make a lot of people upset. Even if one of those champions required for the event is a 6,000 point reward, that will probably make a lot of people upset just because of how expensive it is. I think that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything else that I missed that you would like me to answer, go over, give my opinion on. Definitely want to be using double XP. Energy. Use your monthly energy. If you happen to have these saved up still, use them. I just recently ticked over on my monthly, so I haven't gotten these yet. Weekly, also just be using them. I just recently, I had been saving all of my Faction Wars complete, what is it, star completion rewards, like this energy, this energy, this energy, and I'm not quite at this one yet, but I've been saving these for something along these lines, which was I just wanted to save up as much energy because these didn't need to be claimed right away. Well, I've used them already. And so if anyone else had been doing something similar to me, now's the time to use that energy. If you happen to be getting any missions or other quests or challenges that have energy related rewards, use those energies, because you're going to need as much energy as you can. Like I said, I've been very busy the past day, so I haven't done any actual calculations on what kind of energy requirements you'll need. But you'll be, if you're planning on getting Maulie Tankard as a fusion champion, hoping that we don't get screwed up on the artifact enhancement event for this Ragemonger guy, if we're making that assumption that we won't get screwed over, you'll still need to be using a lot of gems and, of course, silver once we get to that artifact enhancement event to actually complete the Maulie Tankard Fusion. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that when you are leveling up champions, you're keeping it in the back of your head that this champion training tournament requires everything to be based in the Tavern. And so if you're really close to doing a few levels and you would normally do them in campaign, maybe just come in here and take a level 1 guy and give him, I don't have any 1-star champions right now, but give him a 1-star champion to give him a level or something along those lines. Just keep in mind that it's really important to be thinking about leveling up champions in the Tavern and not in campaign, specifically for that tournament. But if you're doing a lot of leveling anyways, you might do enough champion ranking that you, like we went before, the rank up points are the same between the two events, except for Champion Training Tournament actually gives you more rank up points for 6 stars. So there is the possibility that if you're doing enough leveling and ranking up, that you can complete the 10,000 point requirement for this champion solely through rank ups. Once again, haven't done the calculations for it, but everybody is very upset about this event, thinking that it's going to be impossible. In a day and a half, I've got 3,200 points, and so I believe if I just keep on going through these motions that I will be able to complete these events and tournaments. Due to my previous hoarding of the rare champions that I currently have, I won't need to do, if we go back here to the events calendar, I won't need to do a Dungeon Divers event. I won't need to do any of these dungeon tournaments. And so I can focus solely on the champion training events. And artifact enhancement event doesn't require energy, so I'm good there too. If you are not as lucky as me and don't have these champions that come from dungeons events or tournaments, then be very wise with your energy spending. We have no idea what kind of energy requirements it'll take. Tournaments in the past, the rewards that you get from the tournaments are usually pretty high up there. So we have no idea where these guys will be on the scale of how many points it'll be to get these rewards. So I hope that anybody going for this fusion has these champions already. If you don't, I will be going over these events or these tournaments and this event as they come out, but I can't speculate on what you'll need for those tournaments. But hopefully you can be proactive with your current energy and get over the minimum amount of points per day needed for this champion training tournament, and maybe you can spend a day's worth of energy on one of those dungeons and then go back to farming levels. But really, that's all we can say for now until we see what those dungeon tournaments and events are like. So, all in all, keep that in mind. There's a lot to keep in mind if you are planning on going for this fusion. And I know there's probably many of you who this is just way too much and very limited time that you're just not even going to bother. And I totally understand that. She's not the best legendary champion, but she's also not a complete waste of resources, in my opinion. Like I said before, there's only 3 dwarven legendaries, and once we get a dwarf, faction wars, faction crypt, then she's probably going to be a pretty good champion to bring in that area. If you've watched if you've been keeping track, I pulled 1 dwarf 1 time that is rare or above. I just got this guy from a tournament reward, or the event reward. And so I have not been lucky in pulling dwarves. And so if there was a dwarf faction crypt right now, I couldn't do it. But I'm hoping that I will be able to continue through these events and tournaments and get Maulie Tankard and level her up as my dwarven legendary for the fusion or faction crypts, as well as hopefully she'll be useful in other places, especially with her turn meter manipulation, revives, and AoE provoke. I think that's definitely a really good ability to have. And I mean, she honestly, in my mind, seems like she'd be a good champion to give some books, with these cooldowns giving you really low cooldowns for some of her really best skills. All right, very long video. Thanks for watching through this very long video. I'm done going through everything. Like I said, in the comments below, leave me any questions you have, anything that I didn't go over, or just some tips that I could possibly help you out with if you are going for this fusion event. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.